Hi, friends. That's so funny to me. Rachel's kind of getting to me because my granddaughter watches Miss Rachel. So I just want to come on here real quick and say that I'm getting ready to go into a library. I came to this library probably about a month ago, and when I got here, you know, there was so many different homeless people coming from the woods and everywhere. And I was like, maybe they changed it from a library to something else. But once the library opened, I went in and they all came in. They slept in the aisles of the, in the aisles, of course, the book aisles. They were sleeping under desks. They were sleeping at the tables. They were charging their phones. They were, doing all the things that they needed to do in order to recharge and refresh, in a sense, right? I'm not going to mention the library name, of course, but when I noticed it, I went in and I went to go find a place to sit, but everywhere I went, there were, one of them were there resting, so I didn't want to disturb them. Even though I knew what the library is meant for, but I didn't want to disturb them. I didn't want to mess up what they had going on just because I needed space to study. I can sit in my car and study. They probably don't even have a car. I can go to someone's home or a hotel to study, and they're probably not able to do that. So I was more at their service versus trying to get out what I needed to, instead of me trying to get out what I needed to get done, if that makes sense. Instead of me going to get my needs met, I wanted to submit to the service of what the library actually opened up for these homeless people to do, and it blessed my heart. So what I did is went back. When I came here a month ago, I went back, and God is leading me to share it today. When I went about a month or so ago, I went to the front desk and I said, "Hi, can I speak to the manager?" And they showed me the manager or the director, I guess that's what they call them. And I didn't know the exact words to say, but the first thing I said is that I said, "Is this a normal routine for you guys when you open?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, perfect." I said, "I would like to offer my service." I said, "I am a life coach. I speak to people and help motivate them and help them to keep encouraged, to keep going in life and not to give up because of their circumstances. I provide ways mentally, physically, and emotionally on how to get back on track." And they gave me the card of the person I needed to speak to, and I completely forgot I got that card. So now that I'm back here today, I'm going to make it a point to pull that card out and email that person today, which is Saturday. And I'm also going to call them on Monday and see how I can offer my service. The reason why God wanted me to bring it up, we know the scripture, and I'm going to read it, Matthew 10:5-8, when it says, "Freely you give," right? Freely you receive and freely you give. I know that life coaching is a business. I have a life coaching business, right? And I learned years ago when I started this process how to balance, knowing that you're doing it from a biblical perspective, but know how to balance the fact that you charge or you don't charge. And the reason why you charge when it's a business is because you did the necessary education. You went to classes, you paid for further education, right? You did the work you needed to do financially to get the better understanding, certificate, diploma, whatever the case may be, so you can provide the necessary service, right? And so I struggled with that at first, but now God taught me how to use it as a business, right? But here I'm not looking to give it, benefit or profit from it. I'm here to serve these people. And I do pray that the director will find in their heart for me to come and speak to them and stuff like that. If I have to build a relationship with the director and so on and so forth, then I'm willing to do that. But I'm willing to offer my service. Freely you receive, freely you give. And I'm going to read that scripture, but I know it talks about driving out demons. I know it talks about healing the sick and raising the dead, causing blind eyes to see, deaf ears to hear, muted mouths to speak, right? But this also ties into that as well from a natural sense, is to offer your service. Don't always look to get paid. for what it is that you invested in, that you took your time and your finances to invest in, right? Also be willing to offer your coaching service, because not everyone is going to be able to afford it, and that's okay. Look for your reward to come from God. Look for your increase to come from God, because we know that promotion only comes from God. It doesn't come from man anyway. So look to be a blessing. Look to be a blessing in serving people and serving others. Jesus sends out his 12 apostles with instructions for their mission to the towns of Galilee. They are to focus on the lost sheep of Israel, preaching that the kingdom of heaven is near and performing miracles like healing the sick and raising the dead. The key message is that they have received these gifts freely, so they should also give them freely without asking for payment. And even though I mentioned that life coaching, if you're a life coach or whatever business you have, and biblical principles is based on that, God balances the fact that, as I just said, you put in the education, you put in the time, you put in the finances and everything to get a better education. But when it comes to a spiritual perspective, you shouldn't deny anyone of receiving healing and deliverance, right? You don't charge anyone to heal, to deliver them. And I know when I speak, I know when I sing, I know it costs people to heal, I know deliverance takes place. So I'm going to freely give that as I freely receive the healing and deliverance, right? And I hope I'm making sense. But don't always look to always receive a payment for your business. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. I'm a life coach, so I want to provide my service for free to these homeless people. And because I know that they cannot afford it. And I'm really big on the minds of people versus their pockets. All right. So I'll talk to you guys soon. That's all I wanted to say about that. God asked me to talk about it today, so I am. All right, bye.